Hello and welcome to another Spotlight Photographics and Photo Solutions Market online web tutorial. Today's episode is the Quantum series, and we'll be going through all of the different designs that come in the Quantum series. There are 10 total designs, and these designs also have matching partners with other formats. For example, today we'll be showing you all of the game day banners. However, all of the matching names, for example, the first one we'll show you is Fusion. If there's a Fusion panoramic or Fusion sportswear, the color changing and everything that you're going to see in the banners are going to be the exact same things that you'll see in the panoramics and other formats. So you don't necessarily need to have a panoramic tutorial to show you how to change the colors and text for the other formats, because they will be the same as what you'll see here, and we will go through all 10. So this video, you will, if you don't see the one that you're working with right now in the Quantum series, it's coming. You can always skip forward in the video a little bit to see the one that you're working on, but we will be going through all 10. And what we're going to be doing is changing these over to a red team. As you can see in all of the samples, they're blue, but I wanted to show you how to change them all over to red. Now the first thing I want to show you is we have already used Chroma Key Lab, and we have extracted all of our images from green screen. So if you're wondering if we use green screen, yes we do. So we're going to be using these images and creating one banner for each of the designs in the Quantum series to show you how to transfer these over to red. And also I'm going to show you how I use Topaz Adjust to get that different look of the player as well. So let's get started. The first one we're going to show you is Fusion, and Fusion's very simple to do color changes on. It's going to come with the sample person. So what we're going to do first, I always grab the sample player first and delete that person. Now, without changing where I am in the layers, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop in the person that I want to use, and we're going to go ahead and size him correctly. And what I'm doing here is I'm holding down the Shift and Alt keys to expand him from the center at that point. Now if we want to go ahead and use Topaz Adjust, I'm going to just go ahead and rasterize my image here by right clicking on the layer and saying rasterize image. Then I'm going to go up to my filters and say Topaz Labs Adjust. Now I'm using Topaz Adjust 5. I'm not sure if there's a new version out yet, but that's the one I'm using. And I use in the HDR collection Dynamic Pop. And then what I'll do is just kind of tweak the image the way I like it, maybe bump the contrast up a little bit, maybe bring the brightness up a little bit, and it'll come down to details, maybe give it a little bit more detail. You can see it's popping that out a little bit more. And then just to reduce some of that noise, I'm going to come down to noise and bring up the suppression a tad bit, and that will smooth that out a little bit so it's not real rough. And then we'll just go ahead and hit OK, and that will apply it to the picture. So as you can see, that changed the look of it. Just to give you a little look of what it used to look like. This is, we'll step back one here, and that's what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like after. So it really popped him out. Now the nice thing about Photoshop is once we've applied this filter once and we don't apply any other filters, I'm going to show you a trick on the next banner. So let's start doing color changing. So we're going to start and go from the bottom, and you're going to notice that everything that's marked in blue is going to be a color change. So the first one, what we have is a hue and saturation layer. So we'll just double click on this and it will bring up your hue and saturation bar, and we're just going to move this over to red, and that changed the background color. So we're just going to keep going up, and we see an outer glow. If you ever see color overlays or outer glows on my templates, that means that that's something that you're probably going to want to change. So we'll just double click on outer glow, and we see that we have blue there, so that needs to be red. And if you have a color code for your team, which is what I would definitely suggest, put that color code in, and that way you know you're exactly right on the color. But this one is a pure red, so we're pretty safe at just going to the top and going to red. Alright, we're just going to keep going up. We see another outer glow, and we'll change that one over to red. and keep working our way up. We have another hue and saturation, so we'll click on that, move our slider bar over to red, and one more here, and we've switched over to red. Now we're going to go ahead and change his name, so we'll just use our text tool, go ahead and highlight his first name, and his first name is Jason, so we'll just go ahead and type Jason. And the last name, and this is one of the biggest questions they've had, is what if it's shorter or actually more so longer than the name that's in there? And because it's tilted, it's a little bit of a trick to get this to fit exactly back in there. So let's just see if we can make a name that's longer. So we'll call him Johnson. That's not long enough. I'm sure his name isn't Johnsonville, but we'll go ahead and do that. So you can see that it's all the way out. So we're just going to go ahead and apply that. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a free transform on that text. And I'm going to just squeeze it in until it fits remotely on the sides of these bars. Then we'll go ahead and right click and say skew, and we will bring it down to the E is here and up so that it's there. So now we go ahead and apply that, and we're good to go. Changing everything else is as simple as just highlighting and changing the number, and the same thing with the bottom text here is just changing this to West Side. I can type correctly today. And applying that. Now this one's ready to go, and we just go ahead and save this out as a JPEG, and you can send it off to your printer. Alright, so the next one that we will go ahead and show you is going to be Hatch. And Hatch is a really popular one because it's got those light beams that go up from the sides. It looks real futuristic, real tough. And this one again is very simple to color change, and again this works with the panoramics. So first thing we'll do is go ahead and grab our player. Now one trick, if you haven't noticed, I'm not coming over to my layer palettes to find my layers. If you right click anywhere on the canvas, it's going to show you everything that's underneath your mouse at that time. So all I have to do is right click and hit player because that's the one I want. Go ahead and delete him, and let's go ahead and bring in a different player, and we'll go ahead and just size him correctly. And you notice it does have a floor in these templates, but you don't have to use it. You can make the player look like they're in front of the floor, just like this one. Alright, now all we have to do, remember we've already done the adjust on the other one, so I'm just going to go ahead and rasterize this layer, and we can just do a Control F, and that will automatically redo that filter that we've already used once before, and it'll be exactly the same. And this is very helpful so that you don't have to go back and forth and keep trying to adjust each template to make it look exactly the same as the other ones. So there we go. And now we'll just do our color changes. So we'll start at the bottom. We have a lot of hue and saturation layers here, so we're just going to change these over to the colors that we want. And they may not look exactly right away, but just keep working your way up and changing everything that was set to blue to the color that you're wanting it to be set to. So we'll just work our way up, clicking on those hue adjustments. And there we go. Now we just have a couple outer glows for the number and for the the names there. There's another outer glow for the rectangle. And we should have two hue and saturations for the light beams on the name. And there we go. At this point all we have to do is change our text, and save it out. I'm actually going to save this one as a sample. And you don't need to do anything when you save these for printing. All you have to do is just hit OK. As long as your quality is at 12, you should be totally fine. And the next one that we'll be talking about is honeycomb. And this one does have a lot of different places to change colors, so you can kind of really play with this one and make it the way that you want. If you notice, everything is opening as a TIFF, and that is because we've changed over to TIFFs rather than PSDs, because they do have a lot less file size when they come to how much space is taken up on your computer. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start with our player, and let's bring in somebody different. You can see that Easy Green Screen there did a really great job on the hair. If you haven't checked out Easy Green Screen, go to our homepage, photosolutionsmarket.com, and click on the ad for Easy Green Screen. It is an amazing software, and this was literally in a batch process, just a simple one-click process to get that hair out like that. And you can see it's just awesome. So, all right, so let's get this guy transferred over to the right color. So we'll start at the bottom, and we'll do the hue and saturations and start moving these all over to red. And we found an outer glow here on this honeycomb. And we have a lot of different honeycombs that are all by themselves. One thing you can do is go ahead and right click on here and say copy layer style, and then you can go and select all of the other honeycombs that are in that line and go ahead and say paste layer style, and that will go ahead and change all of those over to red for you. Alright, so we got an outer glow here on the number 2. Change that over to red. And then we've got some hue and saturation lines here. Go ahead and change these guys over to red. And we have some more hue and outer glows on these guys. So we can go ahead and but you want to keep them in the line. Like, you can't use the same one that was at the bottom because these have a different color mode here. So always look at your color mode. So we're going to go ahead and do the outer glow on this one, change it over to red. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy that layer style, and every one of these that has the same layer style, which is subtract on this one, I'm going to go ahead and say paste layer style here. Otherwise, you could just go all the way up and do them one at a time. Alright, and we'll change a couple light beams. And I think I missed the outer glow on that rectangle. There we go. Now you'll notice on the hatch that these bursts that are back here, depending on what color it is, can give off a different hue. In this case, we're seeing a little bit of a yellow. So what I would suggest is if you go back down to those two color bursts, you will see that in your hue and saturation palette, let me get back down to the right ones here. you'll see that colorize is not checked, and sometimes colorize is not checked so that it'll keep a little bit more of the texture that is in that element. But if you're having a problem finding the exact right color and you need to just trick this thing to make it work, hit colorize and go ahead and switch that over to red, and that will take care of that. It didn't have a problem with the blue, but in the reds for some reason it does. But bring your saturation up and then drag it over to the color that you want. So there we go. So now we have that one all done. Let's go ahead and change his jersey, because I will save this one as a sample as well. And we'll go ahead and change the team name. These are all fake names here, so I'm not worried about changing his name. The one thing we didn't do was we did not do the filter, so we're going to go ahead and hit Control F and apply that filter. Now if you don't change it from rasterize it, it's going to reopen this in here, so you can actually do a little bit more of adjustments if you want, and then you can just hit OK. And that's because we didn't rasterize the player's image. It does take a little bit more time if you don't rasterize it ahead of time, just because it's trying to do it to that original image. But we'll just go ahead and let it do its job here. There we go. And we'll go ahead and save this one out as another red sample. And once again, of course, you change the first and last name like we've done before at this point. Alright, the next one up on the list is Horizon. This is one of the other very popular ones. Fusion's probably the most popular, but Horizon is right there behind it in how popular it is in the design. Honeycomb is doing very well at the same time, but Horizon and Fusion are definitely two of the most popular ones in the group. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and close this other one off here. And let's go ahead and get someone for this one. Now you can see that this one definitely has a floor, but what we're going to do is not use a floor. And I am going to bring in, let's pick a different person here. Let's go ahead and pick a cheerleader. That's going to throw some things off, won't it? Can't use football posters for cheerleaders. That's not necessarily true. The nice thing about the Quantum series is it can really be used for any sport. In this poster, of course, obviously we're just going to turn off the number because we're not going to need it. And at this time, we're just going to do all of our color changes like we've done before. We have our hue and saturation lines here. Go ahead and change these over to red. This one's pretty simple. There's not a whole lot going on with color changing on this one. Just have a couple outer glows on the boxes. On the flares on the name. And that's pretty much it on this one. So let's go ahead and change her name over here. And we will call her Heather Davis. And now this is going to give you the other problem that some people have, is how do I stretch the name Davis and make it fit? Same thing we did before. Go ahead and apply the text, and then go ahead and stretch it so that it goes to the sides. Do the same thing again with the skew. Grab this middle box, bring it up, and grab this middle box and bring it down. There we go. And we'll go ahead and change the name of the school. And with the cheerleaders, you're probably going to change up the way that you do that filter. because the girls, you don't really want to put such a hard filter on it so much. As you can see, it does change her a little bit, but actually not too bad. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply this one just for sample's sake. And again, you can see how well Easy Green Screen did on these cutouts. The pom-poms all came out great. I just love that software. Again, if you haven't gotten it yet, go click on that link. I will put it in the description of this video tutorial, so you actually have a direct link to it as well. But Easy Green Screen, along with the Chroma Key Lab software, is great. And for some reason, that did not like what I just did. So I'm just going to go ahead and rasterize her. And let's go ahead and just do a fresh adjust on this one. Alright, so now we're just going to go ahead and save her out also as a sample. But as you can see, Horizon is a very quick template to work with. Does really well. So the next one we're going to talk about is Lightstorm. And Lightstorm is, again, a fairly simple color changing. Most of these are all very simple. Really the only one that has a lot of depth is that honeycomb one that we showed before. So that's the only one that we really have a lot of color changing on. Everything else is very simple to do. So we'll go ahead and remove our player on this one. Let's bring in another guy from our team. Stick him in right there. Alright, and then go ahead and I've applied the filter, doing the Control F again, and let's go ahead and start color changing. So hue and saturation, you can kind of see the trend here. So if you're working with anything and you haven't seen the other templates yet, maybe the one that you're working on, you probably have gotten the idea by now that this is how it's going to go when you get there. So we'll just change over our outer glows. A couple more hue and saturations over to red. Now I do want to show you one thing. If you don't do what I showed you at the beginning and remove the player and not touch anything else in your layers, if you bring something in and drop it, say for example you went up and selected this layer here, when you drop something in, it's going to put it right above that layer. Well, right above this layer is a hue and saturation adjustment. So for example, let's say that we dropped our player in between those two layers. Let me release the clipping mask here. This is what it would look like. So if your player is all red or all blue or whatever, that means that you dropped them in between the hue and saturation and what it was supposed to be. So that's one problem that some people have. So I'm just going to go backwards. But that's pretty much it on color changing this one. We'll go ahead and change his jersey number for the sample just so it doesn't look weird. And we'll change the team name over as well. Save this guy as another red sample. And the next one on the list is Mothership. This one has a lot of technical looking things in the background, like almost like a motherboard type look. It's kind of like the insides of the computer almost, but it also works really well for really any sport. But let's do this template here. So we'll go ahead and click on our player, delete the player out. Let's bring in a new guy. Once again, if you notice, none of these guys that we shot had a floor. They didn't go all the way to the feet, but that's okay. All these templates don't have to be that way. So let's go ahead and rasterize our image here and apply the filter. And we'll start doing some color changing. So go down to the bottom. We'll start on the first hue and saturation, turn it red. You can immediately start seeing the colors changing. And you can see we've got a couple of those things that we showed you in the honeycomb that happened. And that's because of the fact that those are not colorized layers. So if we don't want those to come through as yellow and we want them to come through as red, go ahead and just click on Colorize and switch it to red. And we'll do the same thing for this one down here. Colorize. Saturation usually in the 80s and over to red. There we go. Took care of that. We have our outer glow on our number. And our outer glow on our rectangle at the bottom. Again, if you have a team that has two different colors, you can always, mix and match these and change it up to really be customized exactly the way that you want the template to look like. Alright, there we go. So we'll go ahead and change his number over to 70 just by highlighting it and retyping. And we'll come down here and change the team name. Just like that. We'll save this one out as a sample. So Mothership is very easy, very quick, and can be used really for any sport. And you'll be able to see all of these samples if you go to the store where you can buy these templates. You'll actually see the other color sample up there as one of the sample images. Alright, so the next one we're going to do is Spark. And this one's pretty cool. It's got all of those just very electric feel. So if you have a team like Lightning or Electric or anything to do with Spark, anything like that, this is a great template for that. So we'll go ahead and choose our players area and we'll go ahead and delete that. We'll bring in a new player. This one seems kind of fitting, and got some crazy hair going on there. Go ahead and put that one where we want it to be. Rasterize our image now that we've placed it and apply our filter like we did with the other ones. And of course, depending on the speed of your computer, it depends on how long this is going to take to apply that Topaz filter. I am running a lot of stuff right now, so alright, we'll start changing our colors all over to red. Change our outer glow down there on the number. outer glow for the rectangle once again. And a lot of these were built with the same elements, so you can see, like I said before, once you've seen one or two of these, you're probably going to have the exact same color changing methods on any of the Quantum series templates. I wanted to keep them very uniform on how they reacted so that we didn't have to worry about color changing too many things. And there's the other one. Alright, so we're good to go. We can just change the name, change the number, and save this one out. Alright, Stardust. This was actually the first one that was made that launched the whole series. Stardust was where the whole idea came from. Sometimes when I try to come up with new ideas, I just try to think of something new, and this was the one that it all started with. So welcome to the reason that we have Quantum. This one, we'll go ahead and change our player first, just like we've done before. And I'm trying to find somebody we haven't used yet. Here we go. And once again, we don't need to worry about the floor because we can make it look like they're standing in front of it. So if you're not using full-length images, it doesn't matter. Alright, we'll rasterize that, apply our filter, and we'll start color changing it now. Just go down here to the bottom. Again, find those hue and saturation layers. Switch everything that was on blue over to red. This one does not have a whole lot of things to color change, so again, this was probably one of the quicker ones to work with. And once you've saved, once you've changed the colors of this, save it as a new template. Save it as the template for this team. That way you don't have to do it for every single one that you are going to be working with. And that way you can just, all you have to do pretty much at that point is just pop your players in, change the name. Don't try to do a PSD for every single player. What I like to do is just drag all the players into one template, turn off all the layers of just the player except for the one I'm working with, do that one, change the name, change the number, save it as a JPEG, turn the next one back on, and just keep working. I actually don't have, I have a master PSD that has everybody sized correctly, but if I need to go back and fix a name or something, all I'm going to do is just retype the information instead of having multiple PSD files. So at this point, again, we're just going to change our number over to his number. And because I'm just making samples, I'm just changing the name again. Close these down a little bit, make it a little quick. Alright, the next one is time zone, and we are almost done. There's only 2 more left. Time zone's also one of the very popular ones in the Quantum series. Alright, so we will go ahead and take that player out. put a new player in. Rasterize him and apply the filter. Alright, now in this one you'll notice, sometimes you may be using a design that you don't want the name to be up here. Maybe you want to scoot it down a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is come all the way up to the top, and from the beginning all the way down to the rectangle is going to be that name section, and you can grab that all and scoot it down. So we're just going to move it right down to there, so that way we can see the middle of his gloves, and we can start editing the template at this point. So we'll go ahead and start doing our color layer changes, switching these all over. And we have our rectangle outer glow once again. And our two light flares that are over top the names. And I think I skipped over the jersey number somewhere. Yep, it was way down there. Alright, go ahead and change him over. That's how easy that is to go to red on that one. Not very hard at all. Yeah, we'll save him out. That's going to be a pretty cool looking banner on the stadium walls there. And that was Time Zone. Alright, and the last one in the Quantum series is Turbine. And this one, if you haven't seen the shirt that goes with this one, the shirt came out great with all of the different Turbine parts on it. It just was a cool shirt, but the banner is equally as cool. We'll go ahead and select our player and bring in our final person. Go ahead and bring in this guy. Pretty sure we did this one already, but I'm just making samples. Go ahead and bring him off the floor so that it looks like he's standing in the foreground. We'll rasterize that image once again, right clicking, hit rasterize layer. Control F applies that filter that we've already previously used with Topaz. And let's start color changing this one. So we'll go all the way to the bottom, start working our way up. Now the floor in this one does have a blue hue to it, so you can change that floor to have a red hue to it. And if you want it to be a little bit redder, just bring up the saturation, and there we go. So we'll keep moving our way up, changing all of the reds. And again, it looks like we got a little bit of an orange going on here with red, because red changed the properties of those things there. So if you notice, it's not colorized. So we'll go ahead and click on colorize, move our saturation back up, and that should change that over to not clash as much. There we go. And we'll change the outer glow on our number. The bottom rectangle for the team name. And the light rays on the names. And there is Turbine. So on the sample, we'll go ahead and just change this over to be 74. And if you want, you can always move things around. That's the one thing about the templates that I like to keep intact, is all of the different layers. So if you wanted to bring that layer up to the front, you can, and that way the number's at the front. And instead of tucked behind him, you can also move it around. You can also come to the clouds, and you can turn them all off if you want, and just have that. Or you can come into the clouds and you can turn off specific ones if you want to have a different look. So you can move a lot of different things around in all of the different templates. Everything's in layers, so that you can do that. Now, one other trick I want to show you here at the very end: if you are having problems highlighting something, for example, if you're trying to highlight the first name but it keeps highlighting the last name, all you have to do to manually highlight something, instead of coming over here, is come over to the layer. For example, this is the first name here, and double click on the T icon, and that will automatically highlight it so you can just retype it. So that's another quick tip that you can do there. Alright, so let's save this last one out. And that one is all done. So like I said, if you want to head over to photosolutionsmarket.com, this is the website. If you want to go under Sports Solutions, you can view our full catalog here. We've kind of changed everything up so that it's easier to get through. So if you click on Full Catalog, what it's going to do is actually bring you to a page that actually shows you every single different thing, and I've categorized them now. Prints and banners, this is going to be stuff that's specific to only, like posters and banners. Then you also have the full sub-products that are used with Colorado Timberline, and then limited edition series collections. Those are all going to be right here, and that is where the MVP series is. However, because these are banners, they will also show up in the player banner templates. So if you want to see all the other different player banner templates that we have other than the MVP series, you can always go there as well. But if you're on our home page, you can also scroll down and always see what's new and exciting in the way of templates. And you'll see right here we have Quantum Series. And when you go into the Quantum Series, you'll notice that we do have full collections that you can buy every single one of the ones that you saw here today. And that's a lot cheaper than buying them separately. And we have that in panoramics and also in the sportswear. And you can see you can also buy everything individually through the store. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter yet, make sure you do that. You can always hit the Help tab and Newsletter registration, not resignation, and sign up for our newsletter, and your first order will be 25% off once you've completed your subscription. If you're already part of our newsletter, you should have gotten this when you subscribed the first time. If not, please email me and let me know, and I'll get you that code. It is a one-time use for your account, so you can't use it more than once. So even if you resubscribe, it won't work a second time. Anyway, thanks again for stopping by for another web tutorial, and if you have any questions, you can always reach me by clicking on the Contact Us link on the website by email or by phone. Again, my name is Sean Dement with Spotlight Photographics and Photo Solutions Market. Thanks again for stopping by, and have a great day.